Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Success Mindset with Puya Ganyan. Yes, that's me, your host, Industry Hall of Famer, and I'm excited to share with you another episode this week. Thousands have asked for me to make this content available to the public, and now you're getting it. I'm sure, like always, your mind will be blown away, so lean in, pay attention, and let's grow together. Who's ready? All right. Hello, everybody. This is Puya Ganyan coming to you from my home in Orange County, California. And I want to say a quick shout out and how proud I am of each and every single one of you for being here on St. Patrick's Day, at least for us here in North America. For those of you that are in the future, who might have already been in a little bit of a recovery phase. But for those of you that plugged in to the last Wealth Building Wednesday that we had, a lot of it was around recruiting and how to go out there and multiply your business. And from the information I've heard and gathered, it was a very well-received training, and I'm excited to hear that. Now, I think the other part of that is when you go out there and you have these conversations and you start introducing people to the product and the business, that next step is called the follow-up. And that's what we're going to spend a little bit of time talking together here tonight or today. Now, there's 3 laws that I've always been taught in this industry. The first law is that exposure using a third-party tool is everything. And that's a lot of what last month's Wealth Building Wednesday training was. The second law that I was always taught is that the fortune is in the follow-up. And I often like to say in the immediate follow-up. And the third is to work with the willing. Conversation for another time. But the thing to keep in mind is that in order for you to gather that fortune, you have to do the follow-up portion of it. And I'm of the belief that the next 60 days are going to be absolutely remarkable for those of us that make that decision to make it remarkable. The reason I say that is because 60 days ago, people made that same decision and they are just flourishing and they're multiplying in their business. They're getting the same exact trainings, but it's you making that conscious decision in your mind that it's your time to draw the line in the sand and to oftentimes do the things that maybe you've neglected the most. For myself in the beginning of the business, that was sometimes that exposure process. That also more often, I should say, was that follow-up or the lack thereof. So that cliche saying that we hear, which is fortune is in the follow-up, it's not cliche because you may be missing out on your fortune because you're not following up. So a fun little game that I do for myself is we all have a Friday that happens every single week. Right? If you have a Friday, say I have a Friday every single week in the chat box, right? So when you have that Friday, what if you tricked your brain into looking at that day as your follow-up Friday, right? And what if you set and blocked off some time that you can dedicate, whether it be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, and all you did was give undivided attention, undistracted from everything else that's going on, and you did your follow-ups. I was talking to an individual, and obviously more and more people are working from home with everything that's happened. And I was told by this individual that from one time in the morning to the next, they're in the room and they do not come out and see the family because they're at their job, they're working. And it's like, what if you spent that same type of dedicated time and you did that follow-up Friday? What if you did a power hour or a power half hour with people on your team and you used one of the activities you did together for that week and you followed up with individuals? And honestly, make it fun. Hey, it's follow-up Friday. And I wanted to follow up and see if you had a chance to use the product. I wanted to follow up and see if you took a look at the information. I wanted to follow up and see if you were able to plug into the virtual party that I was having. And those are great ways for you to encourage and motivate each other to go forward. Now, here's a big thing, and obviously I talk a lot about mindset, so I'm going to start on mindset around this conversation. And that's because mindset really does matter. Are you the person that's saying, I'm not that good at follow-up? Because guess what? According to the law of attraction, which is actually now proven to be like a real law, Like not back when the Secret came out and it was like new. Like there's so much research behind it to actually prove its existence. But if you said, I'm not that good at follow-up, like what is that attracting out into the universe? I remember saying at one point, well, I don't want to bug people. Has anybody ever said that before? Put it in the chat box below. I've heard people say before, I don't want to be pushy. I know for myself, I've said it. So what you need to think of instead is you need to think of the value you're bringing to their life. For myself, when I'm approaching somebody about the business, I envision the individual walking across the stage and having massive success. I envision that individual winning the 90-day challenge because of the amazing results they get. And that's where you have to begin to shift your thinking. Instead of saying, I don't want to bother people, instead, what if you thought, I'm offering exceptional customer service by following up and checking in with this person. And I will tell you, in my 15 years of having been in this industry, there have been so many people who have told me they joined the business, but like they didn't sign up with the first person because they never followed up with them. Don't let that be you. Don't be apologetic. You have a product, you have an opportunity that brings massive, massive value to people's life. And the thing that I often have to remind myself, because guess what? In order for me to move to the next level in my business is the same things that I do is the same things you would need to do to go from a brand new brand partner level to another level. And that's being able to share the opportunity with people, being able to share the product with people. But the thing you always have to remind yourself is that your business is your priority. It is not your prospect's priority. People get busy. People will experience a little bit of buyer's remorse. Somebody maybe goes and talks them out of it. So what needs to happen is that when you start doing what you said you were going to do, people are going to see you taking your business more seriously and actually treating it like a business. And what happens is during your follow-up, if you call someone and they don't answer, leave them a voicemail. Hey, just calling you like I promised I would. Or sending them a voice recording or sending them a text message like you promised you would. And what I know in my own experience is that in order for somebody to go from not knowing to knowing and becoming a brand partner, somebody needs about 5 to 7 exposures. So the way in my brain I process it is like, I'm literally following up this prospect, follow up from exposure to exposure. That's my link between exposures. So I'm almost force following up with people to move them to that next part of the funnel. Now, this isn't the case when it comes to getting yourself a customer. This could be one conversation, you send them, 3 or 4 of your favorite before and after pictures, you've already got their order and you're placing it online. I'm talking about a follow-up conversation from what we talked about last month, which is recruiting. So when you set the expectation that you're going to follow up with the individual, do it. And you never leave the site of an exposure without scheduling the next exposure, which is your follow-up. So your goal, if somebody's, if I'm telling you in order for you to get, and honestly, these numbers could be skewed because now people can literally upgrade for free. It is a no freaking brainer, right? People literally can join a business and make multiple millions of dollars for their family. It is so mind-blowing the opportunity people have at their fingertips, okay? But if I'm telling you someone needs about 5 to 7 exposures before they make a decision to say yes to the business and to actually build it, yes, maybe they get involved. What if they need 5 to 7 solid exposures before they take it serious? Your goal should be to get them those 5 to 7 exposures in the shortest period of time possible. So when you're closing that virtual party, when you're, on the phone or you're sampling out a product or you're sending out a third-party tool, schedule that next follow-up. Schedule that next exposure before you finish the last exposure. And a part of the reason why we do the follow-up is to ask for the sale. And some of the verbiage that I like to use when trying to close the sale is, what did you like best? When somebody looked at a third-party tool, I'm going to ask them, what did you like best? Maybe I'll say, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being someone that's obviously not you, 10, someone so excited they're swinging from the chandelier. Where would you say your level of excitement is from a scale of 1 to 10 with getting started? But I joke around and I let people know, and I kind of get that skew. And if it's like a 6 or below, or if it's a 7 and below, I ask them, I'm like, okay, awesome. What do you need to hear in order for us to move that number 1 notch forward, 1 notch up, right? Maybe in that follow-up, you're transitioning into a 3-way call. Maybe in that follow-up, they're ready to get started and you say, hey, let's schedule that enrollment appointment. Or, hey, let's get you started right now. Or, do you have a few minutes right now where I can help you place your order? Or, I'm placing orders tonight for others. Did you want me to place something for you too? Or, looks like another good one. How would you prefer to get started? Did you have any further questions from this last Thursday night's party? These are a couple scripts that you could say to help transition and move the call forward. But guess what? You can't even have that conversation if you're not doing the follow-up. Now, I suggest doing the follow-up. The best time to do it is within the first 24 to 48 hours. You send somebody a sample, they will literally forget to use it unless you remind them of it. So, and I've talked to people who are like fantastic presenters, and I'll often say, like, I don't care how good of a presenter you are or how amazing your product is. If you don't follow up, you aren't generating business. And so many of the reasons to follow up is asking questions. It's overcoming objections. It's sharing stories, testimonials. It's asking for the close, like I shared a little bit earlier. And, again, you can't expect for business if you don't ask for business. And a funny little slogan you can say to yourself is like, get your ask, A-S-K, together. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is that they wait for people to follow up with them. Well, the ball's in their court. If they were interested, they follow up with me. If you were in corporate America and you did sales or marketing or business development, like, I don't know how long you'd last in the department. And I'm sure there's some of you that are now thinking, well, I'm not a salesperson. And I get that. But if one of the most common responses you hear from people is, I'm not a salesperson, the chances are you're probably coming off a little bit as like a salesperson, right? Because if you're getting this objection from your prospects, there's a couple things that I think could be going on. First, they perceive you as a salesperson, and your message is probably about sales in some way, and only you can take a self-analysis of this. So when they ask you, what do you do? What do you respond, right? Like, I sell an opportunity. It's important to remember that you're not so much of a salesperson. If you want a cool name for it, call yourself a consultant. You consult people on how to make their lives better. You consult people on how to make an additional stream of income. And if you speak like a consultant, your peers will not perceive you as a salesperson. The second thing that I think also could be going on is during your invitation, you may be selling and you're not aware. And it's very hard to sell someone on an idea of starting a business because that's kind of scary, right? That's why you have to mirror match and get to know where they're at. Questions are your friends. So it's saying, like, if you were to do this, what would be some of the reasons that you pursued it? What would be some of the things that you would like to accomplish as a result of doing it? They never know before they ever meet with you that if this is a venture, if they're ready to venture into entrepreneurship, if that makes sense, right? Like, I didn't know that I was ready to be an entrepreneur. I never knew that I was ready to be my own boss when I got started in the industry. I got started because I wanted to make a little extra income. And it is so much sexier to sell the power of your part-time story. First and foremost, I'm a mom that gets the majority of my attention, but my fun job is helping people achieve their goals. And there's no reason to really sell someone on starting a network marketing business. Just tell them your story on why you got started. Tell them how it's going for you and the changes that you're seeing in your life, and just leave it at that. But you have to remember that even if the person doesn't sign up right then and there, BAFA, BAFA, book an appointment from an appointment, book an appointment from an appointment. You do not leave an exposure until you schedule your next exposure. So it's being able to say, when do you think you'll have a chance to review all that information? And people like options. Tonight or tomorrow, in the morning or in the evening, at 3 or at 5. When I go to the store, cash or credit, paper or plastic, tonight or tomorrow. And I don't want you to do what amateurs do, which is just to leave it hanging. When you're scheduling a follow-up, you are showing confidence. Giving them options leaves the power in their hands. And that's why I like to do that. When I go to the dentist, how many people go to the dentist? But like, I know for myself, when I go to the dentist, like, I never leave that dentist's office without scheduling my next cleaning. I don't know how I know. They know what I'm doing 6 months in the future, but they figure it out. Right? So what if you were kind of the same way when it came to your exposures and your follow-ups? The only reason you have an exposure is to have another exposure. And I will say this also, that like a lot of you get people involved in the business and you think that they should want it and should want to run after it just as much as you do. And speaking very transparently, in my head, when somebody enrolls as a brand partner, all that tells me is they've given me consent, electronically or through paper, to keep recruiting them. Still get on the phone and I'm like, you'll pull through, you got this, you can do it, I've been there before. So like, you're always in recruiting mode. Just because they enroll doesn't mean anything. People used to join my business for $500 and $1,000 and literally join the witness protection program. Like, I never heard from them again. They gone. So if people are going to do that with $500 and $1,000, please don't beat yourself up when people are doing it for a $20 enrollment, for a free upgrade. As long as you do what you have your power in, it's like, which perk did you want to go after first? Getting your credits for your free product, taking advantage of the tax benefits? Did you want a bundle deal? Are you guys getting some value from this content that we're going over together? So even if you follow up with them and they don't respond, you know that they're stalking your Facebook. You know that they're still watching your Instagram. That's why you do your social media. Because even if you're not approaching them, they see a post in you, it pings a memory. So you need to just look at it as a farmer's mentality. Like, a farmer doesn't go out there and plant the seed, one seed, and then come back an hour, 2 hours, a day later and say, hey, where's my fruit? Bear me some tree. You need to be able to plant thousands upon thousands of seeds, cultivate, fertilize, weed it, provide it the sun, provide it nourishment and water, and take care of it. And then through that 5 to 7 exposure process, it begins to multiply. So in closing, what I will say is you have to just remember is that at certain times it does become a bit of a numbers game, okay? And that a no simply means not now, okay? I have people that told me no 9.5 years ago and have today joined the business. And the thing I want you to write down on your sheet of paper is SW, 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 SW. And that is that some will, some won't. So what? Someone else is waiting. Okay? And guess what? you're going to need to tell yourself that in your recruiting process, in your exposure process. You're going to need to tell yourself that in the follow-up process. You're going to need to tell yourself that with the people that join your business as a brand partner. Because some will, some won't. So what? Somebody else is waiting. And as long as you have your eye on the prize and you remember what it is that you got started for and what it is that you're working towards, that's when the universe is going to start bringing all the right people into your life. And a fun game that you can do is a little mirror test. Write down all the qualities of the individuals and the characteristics of the people that you want to recruit on your team. Okay? Motivated, disciplined, organized, proactive, outgoing, whatever those qualities are, write them down. And look at that list and ask yourself, what's one of those things on this list that you can get better at this week? And then pick another one for next week. Because the funny thing is, we don't always, don't always, right? I shouldn't say that. But like, we don't always bring into our business who we want. We attract sometimes who we are, right? So how can you go become more of that individual that you're wanting into your business? And I look forward to celebrating your guys' massive success. As a reminder, this Wealth Building Wednesday happens every single month. So the third Wednesday of every month. So the next one will be April 21st for us here in the United States. For you rock stars in Asia Pacific, that means April 22nd, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We go through a variety of different topics that we can share and go over. If there's any specifically that you would like to hear on a future one, I'm an easy short message away on Facebook. And again, we have a massive, big month ahead of us. Honestly, just take massive advantage of it. And I say this, and I don't see a tick up in requests, so I'm going to continue saying it. But if there's ever anything that I can do to support any of you in the accomplishment of your goals, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm a short and easy message away on Facebook. And thank you, everybody, for showing up. My promise was to keep it short and powerful. Go out there and make it a challenge to be a follow-up king and queen between now and our next Wealth Building Wednesday. And I look forward to celebrating an awesome close with all of you at the end of March. Bye, everyone.